A couple of months ago, on a Thursday, while I was at work, I received a highly suspicious text from my girlfriend. Something to the effect of, "Happy birthday, Big Bear. What are you doing tomorrow for your birthday?" Sounds normal for a couple in a relationship, right? Except that it wasn't my birthday, and she have never called me a bear before, much less of a big bear. One more crucial detail is that I just got off the phone with her a few minutes before I received the text message. During the call, I asked her what she was doing on Friday, which is the following day, and whether she would be available to join me and my coworkers on a couple's night out. She responded that she would get back in touch with me on that. Then a few minutes later, I received the text. Now it's clear to me what was going on, but back then, when I received the text message, I was confused. I thought maybe she was referring to her uncle, whom she was close with. But why would she call him a big bear? That has a sexual undertone to it. I spent a few minutes staring at the text message, trying to make sense of it. Then I suddenly received another message from her, saying something to the effect of, she forgot that it wasn't my birthday, and for some reason her calendar sent her a reminder. Another lie. My birthday was 5 months ago. We traveled to Mexico to celebrate it together, which should be very difficult to forget. Let me give you a little background about our relationship. I am 28 male and she's 26 female. We started dating 8 months ago. We met at a 3-day camping retreat I went to with my work buddies. We both enjoy traveling and outdoors activities. When I met her 8 years ago, she had a fiancé. She was having problems with her fiancé because he cheated on her. They were supposed to get married, but they called the wedding off because he had cheated on her multiple times before, and she apparently caught him in bed with a girl. She had a nervous breakdown, so she decided to go on a camping trip with her friends to decompress. On that camping trip, I had 2 of my male work colleagues with me at the time. I met her on the first day of a 3-day camping trip, and I spent almost 2 days of the trip with her. We had so much in common and had good chemistry, so we hooked up on the very first day we met. One of the red flags that I should have noticed back then was that she wouldn't stop talking about her ex-fiancé that cheated on her. I remember thinking that if she was indeed here to decompress, then she wouldn't be bringing him up so often. So I tuned out from listening to most of what she was saying about him, only paid attention to bits and pieces of it. From my understanding, she has been dating this guy since she was in high school. He had cheated on her on several occasions. From her story, I felt like she was codependent on him and didn't want to leave him, no matter what, till she had a nervous breakdown. I felt like she was just voicing her frustration to whomever would listen, and I just happened to be there, and it was intolerable. I only endured it because I wanted to have sex with her, and I didn't expect anything else to come out of it. She told me that they dated in high school. After graduating high school, she went off to college and then nursing school. On the other hand, he was getting in trouble. He would later end up in jail for a few years. So their relationship was on and off and unhealthy. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to get on his feet. So I was thinking at the time that he was a loser. And I asked her why she kept supporting him and going back, because she said that she was financially supporting him as well. And she said that she was sorry for him. I thought the relationship was very strange, because I couldn't imagine why a beautiful woman like her would put up with a loser like him. We both live at different parts of town. However, her uncle lives around my area, and she has visited my area several times to see her uncle and her cousin. After the camping trip, we went our separate ways. We live about 250 miles apart, so I didn't expect us to see each other again. Not even a week after we went our separate ways, I received a text from her saying that she kicked her fiancé out of the house for good, and they are no longer together. Since we had so much in common and we had good chemistry, our conversation came up naturally. We started texting, then video calling, and then she would drive to my city because her uncle lives in my town, so she would come to see me and her uncle and cousins. Although I didn't receive any formal introduction to her uncle and his wife till a few months into our dating. We started a long-distance relationship till she told me that she wanted us to move in together after 2 months of dating. I thought it was too soon, but I could see us building a family together down the road, and I wasn't seeing anyone else at the time. Plus, I enjoy spending time with her, so I agreed. She works as a nurse, so it was easy for her to get a job at a nearby hospital. That was 8 months ago, and everything has been rosy since then, up until I received this text message. When she moved in with me, I wasn't really in love with her. It kind of built up over time, as we got comfortable with each other. Up until I received this suspicious text message, I never thought about her cheating on me. I thought her ex was a thing of the past because she hasn't talked about him for a while, and he lives about 250 miles away. The only relative she was close with, besides her parents, was her uncle. Her uncle, who was her mother's younger brother, had 2 small children. He was anywhere from 45 to 47 years old. They were very close, and I assumed that was because her uncle lived with her parents when she was growing up, and she was raised by her parents and her uncle. Thinking about the text back then, I knew something was going on. I didn't buy the story she told me, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So when I got home that day, I acted like everything was fine. I was hoping to get my hands on her phone to see who she's been texting with. When I got home that day, she was still at the hospital working. I thought about installing cameras or listening device to see if she's having an affair or bringing the affair partner around my home. So I went online and bought some cameras and audio devices and scheduled it to arrive the following day. When she got home that day, I noticed that she was overcompensating. First, she bought me my favorite fast food, which she rarely does. And while we were eating, she kept asking me if I was okay every few minutes. I knew something was up, but I was careful not to act suspicious or ask her strange questions, because I knew her enough to know that she was feeling guilty. That night, I intentionally got drunk so she would get drunk with me, because I knew she's a light sleeper. When she slept that night, I used her thumbprint to unlock her phone because I didn't know her password. I went straight to her text messages. Her most recent text message were her friends. Then I scrolled down further. I was expecting to come across her ex-boyfriend, but it was her uncle. I opened the text message and saw the same text message she sent me. Now I got curious. Why would she be calling her uncle Big Bear? I thought maybe she had a bit of a playful banter going with him. But the higher I scroll up the text message thread, the more feeling I get that there's something more than just an uncle and niece text message conversation. It was more like lovers than family. She was sending him pictures of herself on bikini at his demand, like he had some strange control over her. It was almost like she couldn't say no, like she was being forced to do it and couldn't say no. Sometimes he initiates it, so I don't know. She sent him pictures of herself wearing leather outfits. I remember that day, but I didn't know who she was sending it to. She would send him pictures of herself every morning, wearing her nursing scrub. When we went to Mexico for my birthday, she sent him pictures of herself wearing a 2-piece bikini. She would visit his house almost every day after work because his place was on her way back from work. He's married with 2 small kids, and she would always say that she's visiting her cousins. Additionally, the pictures were not overtly sexual, but I don't know any niece that would send those sort of pictures to their uncle. However, most of the pictures were very sexually suggestive, but not outright revealing. I was lost for words. I was certain she was having an affair with her uncle. I didn't know how to react to this at all. I sat on the bed asking myself whether she moved down here to my city for me or her uncle. They must have started their affair a long time ago. Who knows how long it's been going on. It was so unreal to me. If I confront her, I knew she would deny everything. The following day was a Friday, and she told me that she wouldn't be able to go out with me and my work colleague. It was obvious to me where she was going that night. I didn't have to ask her because I already knew, but I asked her anyway, and she said that she had to pick up an extra shift because they wanted her to work since they couldn't find a replacement. I was upset that she thought I was stupid enough to believe that. And that wasn't the first time she made those sort of excuses. Except that now I'm alive to the situation. Of course, there's nothing wrong with going to your uncle's birthday party. But I'm guessing she didn't want me to know that he was the big bear that she mistakenly sent me the text message about. I knew what time she was supposed to be back from work. So I decided I would drive up to her uncle's house to see whether her car was there. And sure enough, her car was parked outside his house. I didn't go into her uncle's house, but it was obvious that his wife and kids were there as well. The camera and audio devices that I ordered arrived, and I installed the camera in front of my house and the audio devices in my bedroom. I began monitoring her closely from that day henceforth. I noticed that she's always a few hours late some days when she comes back from work. I knew how long it takes for her to drive from her work to the house, and I knew on some days she was stopping by her uncle's house, and I'm thinking she was having an affair with him when she gets there. About a week after, it was obvious that I wouldn't catch anything on the camera because the affair was happening outside my home. So I decided to buy a GPS tracker and install it in her car to monitor where she goes after work. Her uncle works as a manager at the construction site, and his wife works as a high school teacher. So I knew the uncle's wife would be home by the time my girlfriend gets back from work. So there's no way the affair is happening at his house. After installing the GPS tracker, I noticed that some days she drives to his house during lunch breaks. There was no way I could catch them in the act because I don't have the keys to her uncle's house, and she would never admit to it without evidence. I wanted to just break up with her and call it quit, but at the same time I was mad that she led me on. I felt like she wasted my time and deceived me. She had me believing that this was real. She had me believing that she moved to my area because of me. A part of me wanted to just let it go. It's a family affair. Just break up with her. Maybe she's one of those people that protect their abusers. Another part of me thinks that exposing her and her uncle would be the best because it will help her start a healthy relationship with someone else. I have seen her uncle and his wife several times. His wife is a very kind lady, so I decided to expose them to his wife. I went to the high school that the wife teaches to let her know what was going on. I didn't know how she would receive the news, but I knew I had to do something. I don't know if I was doing the right thing, but I knew I had to do something because our relationship was over as far as I'm concerned. Her uncle's wife was surprised to see me at her school. I told her that I wanted to tell her something that I suspected between my girlfriend and her husband, and it's been bothering me for a while. We went outside and I showed her all the text message that I saw from her phone and the records of the GPS tracker that shows that my girlfriend was visiting her uncle during lunch breaks. She was stunned by the information I provided. She didn't cry or anything, she was just shocked. I gave her some time to internalize what I just told her. She started telling me that she had suspected something before, but thought it was innocent, and they've always been like that, before they even got married, and she felt uncomfortable with it but didn't know what to make of it. But now that I have brought it up, she believed there's something going on. I was a little taken aback when she started asking me what she should do, and how she was supposed to confront him. Realizing that she was looking up to me for answers, I told her that I have some cameras that I just bought, and if she could install it in her house and have concrete evidence, because if she confronts him, he might deny it without proof. She told me that it would be better if I come over to her house and install it myself. Before I left the school, we arranged to meet up at her house the following morning when her husband has gone to work. After installing the camera at her house the following day, I connected the camera to their Wi-Fi so I could see the video feed on my phone. I felt bad for the lady because she was calling me every few minutes during lunch to see if my soon-to-be ex was at her house and if the camera captured anything. Unfortunately, nothing happened for the first 2 days. On the third day, the GPS was showing that she was heading to her uncle's house during lunch, and I called his wife and told her. She wanted to go home and confront them, but I told her not to go home and to allow the camera to do its job. Otherwise, everything would have been for nothing. And it's not like this is the first time they have had an affair. Long story short, my ex-girlfriend arrived at her uncle's house and they did it on the couch. It was disgusting, and I caught it all on camera. I saved it and sent it to her uncle's wife. When I went home that day, I threw all her things on the driveway and left a note on my door. When she got back home, she started banging on the door. After a while, I opened the door and she started begging me, telling me that she can explain. At this point, I was more curious than angry. When I let her in, it was obvious that her uncle had reached out to her, telling her that his wife have confronted him already, and she knows that I've seen the video. What she didn't know was that I was the one that set up the camera at her uncle's house. From what she confessed that night, she said that she didn't remember when it started, and she knows that it was wrong and it has affected her and her future relationship, her ability to build connection with people. I told her to start going to therapy, and she told me that she was going for a while, but it wasn't helping because she refused to open up to the therapist about her struggles and the abuses that she was going through. She said she loved me and wanted to be with me, and that I was the reason why she moved to that area. And at the same time, she confessed that she was relieved that she got caught because she felt like it's a burden that has been lifted. After we broke up, she remained in town. I believe the uncle and his wife are currently separated. I don't know if they will be divorcing though. I spoke to my ex-girlfriend a few weeks ago, and she told me that she's currently attending therapy regularly now and making progress. I don't know what that means though, but I wish her the best.